So we'll go ahead and record these in our famous little live is Anton's savior for rhythm. And yeah, here it comes. And there we go. We'll take that now and throw it over to live since we're being lazy. Obviously, getting a real drummer who can play in time is something that would make this much more interesting. But for now, we do what we can. Now this sound obviously is a lot more complex. There's a lot more things going on. It's not as simple of a transient as you can see. There's a lot of little hits as we're going, and so it's going to be a little more tricky to line up. But I am going to start by setting our tempo the same, so at least we're in the ballpark. And now when we zoom in, because there's a little emphasis before the actual beat with this sound, and that's just due to the nature of the moving parts. So, but what we really want to focus on, like for example, on this last beat here, there is a very strong, you can see it, there's a very strong beat versus the sort of beat leading up to it, and that one is definitely going to fall on the beat. Here it's a little less. We'll start by trying that and seeing how it works. Let's just loop. Again, you'll notice I did a loop with a slightly different length. That way we can get more variation. So I'm just going to loop this section again, but I'm going to definitely start before the loop so that I get that first initial kind of shake. And I have to let my cat out. I'm sorry, I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry about that. So we're gonna work now to get this a little more in tempo. And one thing that's kind of cool in live, if you can set up sort of the beginning and the end tempos, placements, then everything in between will sort of fall into place a little bit better as you drag things around. So I'm just going to watch this, and as we go, try and figure out the best placement when I can. So the question here is there's sort of a flamming cha-chum, cha-chum. Do we want the second part? I think it should actually be the second part. Yep. And then here we're a little bit late. And I'm going to focus first on the strong beats, and then we'll come back and look at the weaker off beats in just a moment. Clearly that's early. That's late. And as you can see, as we start stretching things in live, the timing becomes more and more random. Especially if I pull it to the wrong beat. So let's just start by dragging all of these transients. It's actually doing a pretty good job of differentiating which should be the beats and which should not be the beats. So we're going to go ahead and let live do that. Now if I quantized this with live, I should show you because it can be a little obnoxious. If I selected this whole area and quantized it, I'm quantizing on the grid, but say I was zoomed in a little more, I would start quantizing each and every one of those little dots, and I really don't want that. That's really a lot more stretching than I want to try and do. This is just to help correct my poor timing. But I like doing it in broad strokes because if you try and do too much detail, like if I really tried to go in and fix every little moment that things happen, it starts to sound, you start losing some of the organic quality, and at that point, why did I record a real instrument? Might as well have just recorded something else. All right, so let's we'll go back. Let's add in one more egg for now, or add in an egg. Because I'm just going to use the one. And I'm going to use this one. So here we go. Okay, and it sounds like our looping points on the llama toes are wrong. Yes, right there. Bloop. Does that make sense? Yeah, they weren't long enough. Okay. So now we will record this in to it. I'm taking two mics and I'm sort of combining them to make a stereo mic a little bit. Okay, so I'm not totally blown away with this at the moment, but we're going to keep it, it's supposed to sound like a crowd of people sort of together. They really don't need to be perfect. Oh, I forgot to change that name. When you think about a crowd getting together and having a funeral procession, they really aren't necessarily together. You get a lot of people who are distraught and things. So, we might add something in that's a little more random in a bit. And again, we'll kind of loop this. Let's go in and kind of fix some of this. I might need to do something to sort of accentuate this new sort of counter rhythm that I'm adding in with this part. The shaker itself is a little weak. The egg, anyway. So we'll see what happens. Feels like the whole piece is very slow at the moment, which of course it's supposed to be. I'm really not very mournful at the moment, so maybe that's my problem. But maybe I think I have enough of a base that we can start adding in some sort of layer on top that's something a little more harmonic. Might be a little more interesting than just working on percussion. Might give us a little bit of a focus for where we want to go. So one of the things that I hear as I was thinking about how I was going to move forward with this idea was to hear the sound of dogs almost howling. There's sort of always a layer of, do I really want to add in the dog howling or not? If it's too, Floyd's asking if there's tab for the overgrowth theme. And there actually is on the website. We have an official tab and a piano version. I'll send you a link real quick. Miko and I did a post about a year and a half ago. Here we go. So that link will give you the piano version, and then there's also a link to my guitar arrangement that has actual tab for people that don't read traditional notation, for guitarists anyway. And that's what we listened to, was my performance of it at the end of the OGWeekly. All right, so I actually did this recording a while back with my girlfriend's dog. It's a husky who